Elon Musk. You hear the name and you immediately think of just radical ambition. Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink. I mean, the list just keeps growing. But it begs the question, how on earth does one person get so much done? Well, today we're going to dive into the operating system behind all that success. We're breaking down the formula that lets him pull off what seems impossible over and over again.
So let's just jump right into it. This is the big question, right? The one everyone asks. Because it's obviously not just about working hard. A lot of people work hard. There's something else going on here, some kind of unique recipe, a mix of mindset and method. And that's exactly what we're going to unpack.
You know, everything starts with a solid foundation. And for Musk, that foundation is built on two massive pillars that are totally connected. A huge, almost cosmic sense of purpose and an insane appetite for risk. And you really can't understand one without the other.
Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting, how these two ideas work together. See, most of us were wired to avoid risk. Musk is, well, he's risk on by default. But that only really makes sense when you're serving a purpose that is so ridiculously huge, like, say, making life multiplanetary, that the potential reward makes any risk seem, well, reasonable. That giant why is the fuel that lets him take these absurd chances until eventually one pays off. And this quote, I mean, this just says it all. For most of us, failure is terrifying. For Musk, though, all the small failures, the missed deadlines, even the rockets that blow up, they're just data. They don't really matter. The only failure that actually counts is the one that completely ends the mission. And thinking like that, well, it frees you up to try things that have a super high chance of failing, because you know those little losses just don't matter in the long run. So if purpose and risk are the foundation, what's the actual engine that's built on top of it? Let's get into the mechanics of it all, the day-to-day operating system he uses to make these huge visions a reality.
It really boils down to these three things. These are the core methods that he uses relentlessly: maniacal urgency, first principles thinking, and just an obsessive focus on attacking whatever the bottleneck is. And trust me, these aren't just corporate buzzwords. They're real tools that he uses every single day. If you really want to understand what maniacal urgency looks like, just look at how the Boring Company started. I mean, this is not a normal business plan. This whole sequence of events, it happened in less than 24 hours. The idea hits him while he's stuck in traffic, and by midnight that same day, there's literally a hole being dug. It's taking that bias to action to the absolute extreme, squishing what would take a normal company months into a single day.
Okay, now for first principles thinking. Musk's go-to tool for this is something he calls the idiot index. And honestly, it's a beautifully simple idea. You just look at a part you need to buy, you figure out what its raw materials, the steel, the carbon, whatever actually cost, and you compare that to the final price tag. That gap, that's your idiot index. And it basically screams at you where you're being totally ripped off. I mean, just look at this example. An aerospace part costs $13,000, but the actual steel it's made from, that's only worth $200. That is a 65 times idiot index. A number like that doesn't just show you there's a problem, it shows you exactly where to attack. Why are we paying 65 times the material cost? And that's the moment Musk's teams just dive in, cut out the middleman, and bring it all in-house to get these massive breakthroughs in cost. And this constant drive to hunt down and kill inefficiency leads to this really critical insight. And the quote captures it perfectly. See, the thing about smart people is they love solving hard problems, but way too often they end up solving the wrong problem. They work like crazy to make a part better when that part shouldn't have even been there in the first place. Which brings us to his 5-step engineering algorithm. Now let's just look at the first 2 steps because they're honestly the most important. Step 1, question every single requirement. Just assume it's dumb. Step 2, delete the part. Don't try to make it better, don't try to make it cheaper, get rid of it. The best part is no part. Only after you have tried as hard as you possibly can to just eliminate something, only then do you move on to trying to make it better. Okay, so we've got the foundation, we've got the operating system, but what kind of person can actually run this program day after day for decades? It takes a very, very specific and intense psychology. He's even said it himself that he's wired for war. And his motivation, it seems to be powered by 2 totally different sources. On one side, you've got the clean fuel, this big, heroic mission to save humanity, right? But then there's the dirty fuel, this internal furnace that seems to be forged from a tough childhood, a real discomfort with just being at peace, and this constant nagging need for a battle to fight.
It seems like he burns both all the time. And this right here, this might be his biggest competitive advantage. Think about it. Most of us are held back by social risk. The fear of being judged or disliked. Musk seems to have a strategic indifference to it. And that frees him up to make these brutal, sometimes unpopular, but often necessary decisions that other people would just shy away from, all because they want to be liked.
So you have to understand we're talking about someone who's operating out here in the 99.999th percentile of human intensity. People like him are like scouts that we send to the absolute edge of what's possible. It's a really brutal place to be, I'm sure, but by going out there, they map out the territory and reveal lessons for all of us.
So why does any of this matter for you and me? I mean, we're not all trying to put a colony on Mars, but we can absolutely learn from the principles that are discovered out there on that extreme edge. So what's the real takeaway for us?
This is probably the most important point of all. The goal of understanding this whole formula isn't to perfectly copy Musk's life. I mean, frankly, most of us wouldn't want it. It's a life of constant, crushing stress and sleeping on factory floors. You can look at the whole recipe, analyze every ingredient, and still decide, you know what? I have zero desire to cook that dish, and that's okay.
And that really brings us to the final question for you. You might not want to cook his dish, but which ingredient could you borrow? Just one. Could it be applying a bit of that maniacal urgency to a project that's stalled out? Or maybe using the idiot index to question a big expense in your life? Or maybe, just maybe, it's being a little more willing to risk being misunderstood to go after something you really believe in. What's the one thing you can take from the edge and actually use?